Hello, I'm Alex from IGN and I'm joined by Daniel. Now, just before Christmas, Daniel was lucky enough to see the new Alien game from Creative Assembly.
I was indeed.
Alien Isolation. Now, this game's had quite a few leaks, a lot of information's come out, but for the first time you've seen what the game is like. So give us a quick overview.
And we're going to show you gameplay footage.
Yes, we will,
So Alien Isolation takes place some 15 years after the original Ridley Scott movie, and it takes all of its inspiration really from that movie, not James Cameron's Aliens, which a lot of games tend to lean towards.
We've seen the Marines versus
you understand
Aliens.
that film is very easy to adapt as a shooter, and obviously Colonial Marines came out last year. Probably the less said about that, the better. But this game really looks towards the Ridley Scott original, which is, you know, it was originally pitched as Jaws in space, and some people see it as a haunted house movie in space. And Alien Isolation, which I'm sure a lot of people are really happy to hear, is a survival horror game. It's also a psychological horror game. And you play as Amanda Ripley, which is the daughter of Ellen Ripley. Now, have you ever seen the director's cut of Aliens?
Yes.
So there's a scene in there where you get to, where Ripley comes out of deep sleep after she's rescued, and she's shown a picture of her daughter as an old woman who's already died. It's very sad because she wakes up years later. Now you play as that woman, you play as Amanda Ripley, because you go out on a quest to find what happened to your mother who went mysteriously MIA. Right,
so it's fully integrated into the kind of Alien lore.
And I think, you know, it's easy to get like the design and look closer towards the original, but I think as a story it kind of has a good rationale behind it. This is a character that exists in the alien mythos, whose story has never been told, and that is the character who would have a reason to go into deep space searching for their mother, and obviously motherhood is a continuing theme of the series anyway, so it kind of, I don't know, it feels very appropriate.
Right. Well, enough of the chat, let's take a look at the first clip of Alien Isolation.
I think it's close, Ricardo.
Watch yourself, Ripley.
So, don't really see that much in the opening scene of the game, but I guess it's highlighting the fact that it's called Isolation.
Yeah, that was the very, that's how the demo started for me, and that was the clip I wanted to select first up because that's how it starts, and immediately it sold me that this was a game that was in keeping with the original movie. The way that the lights slowly kind of flicker on and kind of approach towards you is kind of reminiscent of the beginning of Alien, the way that the lights slowly activate around the ship before the crew are awoken. And just, I think even from that snippet, you can tell the design is kind of spot on. This isn't the Nostromo. The Nostromo was destroyed by Ripley at the end of the first movie. Sorry, spoilers. And this is a spaceship that was constructed by a similar company in the same era. So obviously it looks the same. And you see that throughout the game, that there's different areas, that whether it's a kitchen or a dining area, which we'll see in a minute, they're very reminiscent of the Nostromo because it was built in the same time. And I just wanted to put that clip in because I feel it really demonstrates the attention to detail.
Well, let's continue with the game. Let's see what other footage we've got. So I guess the first thing to notice is you don't have any guns. You've got your motion tracker and you've got a torch. And that's about it, right?
So contrary to something like Colonial Marines where you're armed to the teeth, Alien Isolation kind of follows the trend of a lot of survival horror games, real horror games over the last few years that have been in the indie scene, whether that's Amnesia or something like Slender, where you are completely divested of weapons. You are completely vulnerable, and what you have are devices that prevent your detection or aid with navigation. So you've got the motion tracker, which is a pretty hefty bit of kit, and that is your early warning system if the alien is within range. So if you see the blip on there, you probably should crouch and hide if possible. And the other thing I had during the demo was a torch, which is kind of not a lot of help, and you kind of don't want to use it because if you use it, you're going to alert the alien if it's nearby. So you really don't have much at your disposal. Your main kind of weapon, I guess, is your wits and your senses. And I found myself doing that a lot, because some people might say you've not got weapons, what do you actually do in the game? But a lot of it is really intense, and it's about making decisions. And it's not even that kind of flight or fight response, because you can't fly, you can't flee the situation, because if you run, you'll make more noise, so it'll detect you more easily, the alien. If you can't stay and fight, so it's about choosing the right moments to creep and hide and use the environment. Not as cover, but use it as cover to break line of sight. So it's also a game, I think, from that clip, there's also a lot of stillness to it. And there's a lot of tension. And it really does a good job at pacing that in the demo anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say about the audio, actually, or rather lack of it. It's, it uses like complete silence at times to really build tension, and often it's the other way around.
It's environmental noise. Sometimes you hear the hum of the engines. And you feel like you're on the ship. So it's got great sound design. And some of the sounds, so when I went to Creative Assembly, they said they even went to Fox, who've helped a lot on this project, and they went down into the vault under the lot in California and dug up reels that have never really been looked at since the original film was made. And they've stripped out sounds from that and or recreated them.
And some of the soundtrack is in there as well, like little touches.
The Jerry Goldsmith score has been embellished in really interesting ways, especially in that scene where you look outside and see the planets and the rest of the spaceship.
Like really makes it feel like a proper alien
authentic
game
experience,
which is exactly what I want. So. Okay, let's check out some more footage. So it's a first-person game. I guess that's the first thing to note. What else can you actually tell us about the way the game plays and the mechanics?
So that clip I picked because I think it represents a bit more what you do minute to minute, or at least in the section that I played, which is one of the sections where you're being pursued. But you know the alien is nearby.
Well, I think we even saw a brief glimpse of what could be its shadow there.
Yeah, so there was kind of a bit of a sting in that moment where you're walking down the corridor and you see that shadow and you see those kind of toys, those motion toys have been activated. So what you could see in that clip is you can take cover, obviously, but you can also kind of peer around corners. Now, if you do that, you lean out and you can see more, but the alien can't quite detect you. I think it gives you away slightly, but it's better than just standing up.
Of course,
and you can also peer over cover as well. So you get into this rhythm of like progressing a little bit, stopping, maybe surveying the area, using your motion tracker, just checking it's okay to proceed a little bit more, and then making the decision. But sometimes it can be quite paralysing, because obviously in that bit you know it's gone past. Do you wait a bit? But then you get into the situation of how long do you wait?
So when you were playing, I
spent most of the time hiding under a table. And I'm not ashamed to admit that, because it was really scary. There's one bit later on where you're kind of in a med lab, and it's kind of a bit more of a structured sequence where the alien drops down on the table that you're near. So you hide on the table, and you can see its tail draping over the side of the table. And it kind of disappears again into an air vent. So sometimes it's not even on the ground, it's hiding in the air vents. And I could never think of the most opportune moment. I couldn't find an opportune moment with which, to leave this table. So I was just under this table.
Just to be safe.
For 20
and then,
hours.
I guess the other thing we saw there was you can either focus on something up close like the motion tracker or the distance.
It's a kind of a weird mechanic when they were explaining to me, but it makes quite a lot of sense when you play the game.
Right.
So when you're holding the motion tracker, you can choose to focus either on the distance, rendering the motion tracker a little bit fuzzy, or vice versa. And it actually becomes quite a useful thing, because if you're in a particularly tense moment, you might want to have the motion tracker up all the time just to give you that little bit of sense of security.
Yeah.
But you might not be able to see in the distance, so you might find yourself flipping between the two perspectives.
Right.
And it actually does a good job of you trying, almost like you're ratcheting up the tension yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're either obscuring what you can see ahead of you, and it feels like you're looking down.
Yeah.
I think that's why they do it. It kind of feels like your eyes are taken away from the distance.
Yeah.
And it works surprisingly well, actually.
So can you hold the motion tracker and the torch at the same time, or is it one or the other?
You can turn the torch on, so maybe it's on a belt or something.
Right. Okay, so time for more gameplay. So that kitchen area there was ripped straight out of the first Alien movie.
Yeah.
I think it's the area where Ash goes a bit kind of nuts.
Yeah, and it's also where Kane famously has the chest burster sequence. And the second room at the end is like the computer room where Mother exists.
Yeah.
So I saw some concept art of other areas in the spaceship. So that one table there in the kitchen area, it was a circular table, so very reminiscent of the Nostromo.
Yeah.
Imagine a big kind of cafeteria area. What they've done is like extended that table, but everything around it is very much the kind of visual language of the kitchen.
Right.
So you'll see that throughout the spaceship. So it all feels very recognisably Alien.
Yeah.
But I thought that clip was great at showing detail.
Yes.
There's so much detail. These aren't like cookie cutter environments, like the childish drawing or just little objects on the table that move. Really give it a sense of place, I think.
Yeah, obviously we know very little about the history of this space station and why she's there, and I guess we'll find that out more. But as you say, it just feels like this is an environment that was once a happy place that's gone terribly wrong, and you're thrust into the middle of it, which is always good for a horror game, right?
And it does feel more like akin to a horror experience than an action game, which is totally what they're going for. Alistair Hope, who's the creative lead on this game, described it as a haunted house,
right?
And things do go bump, and you know that there's only one alien in the game. There's only one alien for the majority of the game. That's what they told us anyway. There's one alien, because unlike Dead Space, you know things are going to jump out at you periodically. You kill them, and then you explore a bit more, and it's a bit tense, and then some more will jump out. Whereas this, if the alien jumps out, then it's game over, man. And that's how it works, and that creates an incredible amount of suspense. And I think all those little environmental details really help accentuate it.
Yeah. So I guess up to this point, we haven't actually seen the alien itself. So we're going to build up and we're going to show you some more footage.
You will see the alien. You will see the alien.
I promise you'll see the alien very, very soon.
Shit. This should do it.
See, the lighting really is
Isn't it?
pretty special, and the way that the what it combines with the music really does help build the atmosphere. But I guess, so what we're seeing there is, I guess, some
objectives.
Exactly.
It's the thing is, it's all well and good describing as a haunted house, but why the hell would I want to walk through the haunted house? I'm going to go back to the table.
Yes.
And stay there. You need to give a player an incentive to go through this creepy world. And the level design, if you come out and press select and you see the map design, it's quite labyrinthine intentionally,
right,
giving lots of kind of blind alleyways, lots of ways of breaking sight. So it's really interesting design in terms of the level layout. But so in that you have to basically need to get a flamethrower to get through a locked door, which is on the other end of the darkness. Yeah. So it needs to give you a reason to go through a welding torch, yeah. And so you need to like cut your way through it, and you find a lot of those kind of objectives in the section that I played anyway. So once you unlock that door on another further bit in the demo, you unlock something on one end of the level, and you think you're going to escape and go on, and then you find out that that's actually locked, and you need to go back all the way back to the beginning through the dark spaceship, and you're like, oh. But you have to, because that's the only way you'll escape. So it gives you a good reason to go through these situations, and it's really stressful to do that. My concern is I played probably a 20-minute demo, and the experience of being hunted by the alien is incredible, and it's thrilling and exciting, but I wonder how it's going to spin up into a bigger 10, 12-hour game.
Yeah, because it can't be that, presumably,
it can't be that relentless,
the whole
time. Because it comes by contrast. And in a 2-hour movie, you do that by showing the alien now and then. And when I was at Creative Assembly, they used the touchstone of Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. Like, he's barely in the film, but he has a tremendous impact. And the one that I called to mind was Jurassic Park. In Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs are only on screen for 15 minutes. But you think they're there all the time. So I think they might be smart and be quite sparing with the alien.
You'd hope so.
And the other component that's not really visible in the footage we're showing you today is, even though it's called Isolation, there's actually quite a substantial crew involved. And they've cast real actors to play them. They've done really detailed motion capture, and they've captured their likenesses as well. So I think the crew might be a bigger dynamic than we know right now. So I'm also thinking about people maybe betraying you, and possibly a hidden android if they're being true to the series.
I was going to say, there was a lot of kind of character dynamic in the original film. So I think that would carry over.
So I think it might be more like a kind of a disaster game. You're stranded on the edge of space, and you need to get your ship up and running to get back home. And there's characters that might betray you, but all the time in the background is this bigger threat of the alien. And I think that's the dynamic that will keep it going. And I think later in the game, you do acquire abilities that let you not fight the alien directly, but a little bit like clickers in Last of Us. When a clicker tries to get you, at the beginning of the game, it's instant death. But later on, you can fashion shivs and stuff like that. So I think maybe later in the game, you might be able to fashion devices.
So not to defeat it.
No, but like a get out of jail card.
Absolutely. So obviously, you've got other crew members. Is there going to be a Jonesy the cat?
I really hope there is a cat.
Because Call of Duty has got Riley. I want to see a cat in a game.
I don't know. I think that might be too much for me.
Do you think?
I don't want to look after a cat. It was bad enough looking after Ellie.
Well, okay. Let's see if there is a cat in the next clip. There isn't. So that was your first glimpse of the alien, and unfortunately the last thing you ever saw.
And when the alien gets you, it's really terrifying. The first time it got me, it was a similar point in the demo. I was heading towards that door, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was home free. So I probably maybe exited crouch, making just a little bit more noise, and I didn't see that it spotted me. I heard it first. And I was like in a special demo room, so I had like great headphones on. But I could hear it behind me, and it lets out this really unearthly scream. It's just horrible, and you can hear it charging towards you. And when you turn around, it's right on top of you, and that's terrifying. But one of the reasons that the alien is so terrifying is because it's quite sophisticated. What I was told is it has its own kind of AI that kind of approximate senses of smell and sight. So it's not on a predefined path searching for you, hoping to snare you if you get in its path, like a guard on
so it's
Metal
tough to
Gear.
predict.
It's tough to predict because what it is, it's hunting you.
Yeah.
That AI means that it's actually hunting you, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
And if you, so I died a few times because I got to a bit where I was probably being a bit too cavalier.
Yeah.
And every time I was playing it, it was getting me in different places.
Yeah.
So it's not repetitive at all.
Right.
And it does feel like it is this really deadly killer.
So you mentioned the maps earlier and coming back out and it being quite labyrinthian. Is there only one way to go through, or do you have to kind of pick your route depending on what the aliens
There was a few
do?
different routes. That section that I was talking about earlier, you could go through kind of the meta area, I think it was, where it was more kind of circular, and there was probably more routes to go under tables.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do it. I think it just kept spotting me. So I went on the outside where it was a bigger, longer corridor like that.
Yeah.
Because it took ages, but I was moving along the kind of perimeter.
Right.
And occasionally hiding. And I'm told there's even lockers that you can hide in, which I didn't find.
Yeah.
But even if you hide in a locker, after a while, it might smell you out. So if you're in a locker, you're not safe, like on Assassin's Creed, for instance, if you're in a...
So it detects on sight, sound and smell?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Like, that's what I was told. I think you leave a trail behind you
Yeah.
that wears off after a certain amount of time.
And I think the other thing that clip demonstrated was that the motion tracker, if used badly, is actually a hindrance because it kind of got in the way. You pulled it back down, and then suddenly
that's the thing. Like
there.
what I played, like I found it quite hard, but I think it's probably adjusting to being more patient and having that mindset. Whereas you come from a lot of other games, and you bring certain baggage and certain styles of playing that won't succeed in this game. You will be punished for playing in that manner.
Yeah.
So it took a while to adjust, but the motion tracker, I just didn't know what to do. When I was out in the open, so not near cover, table or anything, and you could see that blip, I just felt paralysed because I thought, I'm gone. I'm just stuck in the middle of nowhere. I either run, it'll hear me, or what do I do? So, like an idiot, I'm just crouching down in the middle of a corridor turning off my torch.
That's one way of playing an alien.
The scenario of being chased by the alien is really effective. Like, it's really well done.
Yeah. So, thankfully, the video footage doesn't finish there. We got another chance to face up to the alien. Here it is.
Resurrection.
Hurry up!
Airlock pressurization 75% complete. Airlock pressurization complete. Airlock opening. Stand
So I guess that gave us a bit of a better look at what the alien looks like.
And how you tackle the game more skillfully. That's what I was talking about, using cover to break line of sight. And then kind of manoeuvring your way around the alien and knowing when to run.
To make that run.
And it's all about that minute-to-minute decision-making. That is actually really demanding and really skillful. But you get a good look at the alien there. And it, again, like all other aspects of the game, it is Ridley Scott's Alien, and that means it's H.R. Giger's original alien design. Giger, who didn't get credited on some of the later movies, really designed the look of the alien and the alien world. And he was quite damning of later films because he thought they turned his beautiful creation and made it look like turds. And this is his original alien. It looks like that. It even has the kind of semi-translucent skull, so you can see the human skull embedded within it. It's really highly detailed. I've seen other working models of it at Creative Assembly. And what's really interesting is seeing how it moves, because in the original Alien movie, because of technological restrictions, they did have a guy, a very thin, spindly, 7 foot odd, tall guy playing the alien, but it was in a rubber suit and it didn't look that good. So that's why a lot of it is kind of hinted at and suggested with the tail. Whereas this, you can have the alien moving, this huge creature sprinting at you. So this is kind of H.R. Giger's original Alien, but in a way that you've never seen it before, because it can actually move in the way that it would.
And it's big.
It's bigger than the original Alien, apparently. So it's not the same alien, because I asked that question when I was that creative assembly?
Yeah.
Is it somehow the original alien from the first movie? Did it survive somehow?
Yeah.
They said it was bigger, so that makes me feel like it's another alien.
Right. So, but that was, well, yours and our first look at Alien Isolation, and we haven't seen that much at the minute, but already I'm very excited.
I think it's really promising. Like, I think they've obviously nailed the look, the feel, and they've also nailed that feeling of being preyed upon and hiding, and they've captured the horror of that. Like I said earlier, the slight reservation is how do you expand that into a bigger experience and not oversaturate it so it loses a little bit of its suspense. But I think there's lots of stuff they're not telling us, like the crew, but also they wouldn't be drawn on it on the day, but do you go to LV-426?
Yeah.
What an amazing conclusion of the game that would be.
Like to tie it all together,
Facehuggers, like I don't think they'll go to town. I don't think there'll be loads of aliens at any point because that's so contrary to the ethos of the game. But I think towards the end, some of that stuff might happen. And I can't wait for it.
Well, I even like the birth of the alien. Is that actually halfway through the game, and the genesis is from when it bursts out one of your
you don't know. You
your
might see the
crewmates. You don't know. Yeah. So anyway, we're pumped for Alien Isolation. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And for all things Alien Isolation, keep it locked on IGN.